Man, this is a good year. Oh.
Yes, we are loaded.
Yeah, look at this.
For everybody so we know what's going on. The Crimson Twins are going to be treated for purposes of this as one character. Because frankly, whatever Tomax is, that's what Zaymod is too. And so they
were sold together. So yeah,
there's no point in trying to do those separately. And unfortunately, for those who were asking, Timber is not included. He's just a figure. It's part of Snake Eyes. Because we don't need to necessarily talk about all the pets, do we?
And he's too big to fit on Snake Eyes' shoulder like Polly did on Shipwreck.
Right.
That is fucked up.
Hey, remember to visit our coffee pit.
Did Polly actually clip onto the shoulder?
He could.
I never tried that. He was always wrist or nothing for me.
Yeah, I was always afraid to because I thought his feet would break. But anyway,
I got it to happen, I think, like once or twice.
Let's go ahead and get started.
Yes.
There's 30 of these things. Yeah. Or 28.
You come late. Now you're demanding.
I didn't come late. Our computer broke. So first up is Airtight. Where are we putting Airtight on the list here? I got Airtight as one of those guys who got a decent amount of spotlight because he happened to come along in one of the correct 2 years, meaning the Sunbow cartoon was rolling on a daily basis. And so they made sure to get him some spotlight. So yeah. I dare say that Airtight is going to join the Legion of Joes in the corporal level.
Yeah.
In this particular case.
Yeah.
Not fighting that.
I think it helps that he's banana yellow too, right? So you never missed him like in any group shot. Like, is that Crankcase back there? I don't know. But whoever he is, he's standing next to Airtight.
Right. We didn't see a whole lot of Airtight in the comic books. He got a revival in Renegades, but he was still pretty much the same. So I think Corporal is.
I think I can name the 2 issues that Airtight actually shows up in.
Yeah, in one of those he was wearing camis too, so it didn't even matter. Okay, so that brings us to Alpine. Mark Webber, where do we put Alpine?
Alpine's a much bigger deal, especially in the cartoon.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't. You're going to argue here if you're arguing Major versus Sergeant. Probably, I put him in Sergeant. Good, solid character. Always had some representation in I think any of the media, but hardly ever a frontline guy. Right? There was hardly ever an Alpine comic or an Alpine episode. So Sergeant for me.
I agree.
Yeah, I do too. He was voiced by one of the TV legends in the old series and with Lee Weaver, a guy who knew his way around a joke, and Alpine was certainly that too. So he's a very memorable character. Joe Colton, you got any argument there?
Nope.
Yeah, Alpine gets a little bit of a nose ahead of the Corporal crowd.
Yeah.
They even hospitalized him in the movie. They thought so much of him. And that brings us to Barbecue. He is one of my least favorites from the Sunbow time. Absolute least favorites. Always either making terrible jokes or screaming for his dad. I could not stand Barbecue. Not at all. Not even a little. So I will reserve judgment. Joe Colton, where do you have Barbecue?
I don't. Sergeant.
Ooh, wow. Ooh, strong. Strong. Mark Webber.
I can't go that strong. I would argue Corporal or Private for him. He's definitely popular. He's more popular than maybe he should be.
Yeah.
For his exposure. But
at least in the Sunbow.
Yeah, I can't do Sergeant, but I can do Corporal.
I will agree with Corporal.
We'll average our votes.
Yes.
Rack time, Rob.
All right.
I go Corporal too.
Yeah.
He's got a decent showing in the cartoon, which he didn't annoy me anywhere near as much as he did you. But like the comic book, I think it's like what 40 and 41 when he first shows up, and then never again.
Yeah, he's strictly background, if there. So I think 2 words sum up Barbecue's existence: the Viper.
It's good to know. I didn't know barbecue was Mike's Recondo.
Just Sunbow barbecue.
Yeah.
Oh, like a very specific.
Yeah, like seeing the barbecue figure doesn't bother me. I like his classified take, and just
Classified take's great.
Barbecue is just oof.
Should have had a second head in class.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, agreed. Oh my God, what a missed opportunity.
But they're like, oh, a redhead, it won't sell.
Matches with his barbecue outfit.
If you read his old file card, it says he's the ultimate party animal who can like open bottles with his teeth and things like that. So, or put a whole Coke bottle around.
He could have had a face where he's just like, and had a, like a coat, like had a
if
bottle
you
of
if you think
Coke.
of his if you think of his features the way they have that in the description of the file card, you should take that helmet off. He should be Alfred E. Newman, but you know,
right?
Now we're
It's
talking.
one ugly dude.
What new word?
Ugly dude. So it brings us to Bazooka.
Okay.
Okay, so Bazooka obviously paired up with Alpine nearly exclusively in the cartoon. He was the strong silent type. We saw more of Alpine on his own than we saw of Bazooka on his own. But then sometimes they paired Bazooka up with Quick Kick too. So he had some options with his comedy partners, so to speak. Mark Webber, where are you putting Bazooka?
Dude, I'm going to back out of Bazooka because he's my barbecue in Recondo.
Oh God!
I hated Bazooka.
So you want to put him in private, is what you're saying?
I'm saying I couldn't stand him. I thought he was a waste of time whenever they put him on. I loved when I think it was Devil's Due had to call out for more Joes, and he answered. And he was a fat security guard. That was my favorite. But yeah, I didn't think the football jersey was cool. I like as lunatic as it sounds. I always liked the Joes that were a little more military realistic, even if it was military futuristic. And this guy running around in a bright red football jersey with a lame look. Even his weapon looked lame. I didn't like anything about this guy other than great pants for Lazy Bastard Customs. So
that is true. That is true.
So yeah, waist down, he's killing it. But no, I'm abdicating on this one. I hated Bazooka.
And they thought enough of him to kill him off camera before the beginning of Resolute. But
Storm Shadow gets 2 points for that. I was pretty happy about that too.
Racktime Rob, where are you putting Bazooka?
I got to put him in the Sergeant. I mean, you always think. I mean, Alpine and Bazooka on the cartoon are almost as matched a set as Tomax and Samon. You know,
almost.
So I'm thinking Sergeant.
Almost. How about you, Joe Colton?
I would have put him on Corporal, but okay.
Yeah, I think the pairing with Alpine has made him popular.
But without him,
I mean, without him, sure, but we can't really look in a vacuum like that because
you also can't look at him based on other people.
Well, yeah, because he's always showing up with them. Yeah,
I guess whatever.
If you think of them as a team, yeah,
they're all a team.
Oh,
he's pretty much beefcaked Alpine's Hogan.
Could he stand on his own and be a sergeant?
Yeah, because he's popular.
Yeah,
he is popular.
All right,
Bazooka.
Even though he sucks.
Even though Weber hates him, I think he's popular enough to like if.
Oh my God.
Even if he's the guy that people point at and go, "Oh, that's not realistic at all." I maintain that his job was to go out and either drive a tank or blow crap up, so he didn't have to be military realistic. Whatever, wear your football jersey. But
even though it represents the worst 18-1 team ever.
Right. I would say he's riding the line, but I think ultimately he lands up there with his buddy Alpine.
I'll throw down the gauntlet classified team. I dare you to make a retro Bazooka and show me how bad that 14 looks with a horizontal cut right through the middle.
You're gonna see it with the Tiger Force one.
Yeah,
about to say you don't have long to wait.
So bad.
All right, we're in Dreadnought territory.
Now these are interesting.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have our first brawl as we get to Buzzer. So, Mark Weber, why don't you get Buzzer started?
Buzzer hit Sergeant for me because he was always in the, I guess, somewhat in the cartoon, but in the comic, he was the most intelligent and dangerous of the original trio, right?
Yeah,
right.
He was the Starscream to Zartan's Megatron, basically a guy who was, had some designs on being greater than he was. I'm sure he saw himself as the leader of the trio, at least.
Right.
For me, he was my least favorite of the three because I hated his head sculpt. It was so kind of warped and kind of cartoony, which is weird to say about a thing that, had such a powerful cartoon. But I could see Ripper starting some stuff, right, in a bar. And Torch, I always liked Torch. I thought Torch was cool. So he was my least favorite, but he's more valuable than the other two. I think Buzzer's a sergeant.
Joe Colton?
I'm going to agree with Weber on this one.
Rack time, Rob.
I think he's at least a sergeant too. Yeah. And again, I'm thinking about my picks on 1985, and I'm just looking through and I'm just going, there's a lot of sets of characters in this year.
Like together, you mean?
Yeah. Where you can't think of one without thinking of one or the other two. And I think that, that's where Buzzer's gonna, his friends are gonna end up.
I think Buzzer's role in the early part of the comics, those middle issues, the 30 through the 50s type run. I think that if you had to pick one of them to stand on his own, it would be Buzzer.
Yeah.
I think he had the most interesting little mini story in Paul Allor's recent relaunch. So I think there's something there for Buzzer, but I don't think he's quite a major either. I think he's a sergeant too.
Yeah.
I thought that was going to be a much bigger fight than it wound up being.
I think the fight might be with the other two.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll get there. Next up is Cobra Commander in his hood. I could have put him last year, but I put him with this year because in my head, I said, hey, yeah, he came on a card. He never showed up on a card.
No,
Mike, you're dumb. So we're just going to go ahead and drop him on the general line because that's where the other one was. And really, this looks just as iconic.
Yeah.
And this look wasn't any worse, right?
Well, it's the same figure, just different color. Yeah.
Well, a different head, right?
Yeah. Repaint with a new head.
There you go.
And as the series went on, this became the de facto look for Cobra Commander.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
In the comics, at least,
Yep.
Yeah.
Cartoon and in the figures too. Yeah.
Cartoon pretty well split time, and I think as animation progressed, the animation got away from the hood. But yeah, you can't. I'm not knocking hooded Cobra Commander down a peg because it's still
no. I kind of like that figure a little bit better just because of the darker blue.
Yeah, it's just as iconic.
And we love hooded Cobra Commander.
We do.
Who was there in the comments earlier? What's up, HCC?
He's all right.
Yeah, he's the man.
He's better if he's still there.
Yeah.
Anyways,
the timestamp was in the way. It looked like you were flipping him off.
Yeah. Yeah, it did.
Inky, Blinky, Pinky, and Cobra Commander.
It'd be inky with like the suit that the Brain would walk around in on Pinky and the Brain.
So that's who Clyde was. Who's Cobra Commander?
Who knew? But okay, let me get back to that screen there. Okay, so coming up next, Crankcase. The most notable thing about Crankcase is he died.
He died.
He's from Indiana.
He's from Indiana. His mustache game is on point.
I don't think he's from Indiana. I think his name is Elwood, Indiana.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Is it? Oh, yeah.
Where's he from?
I forget, but it's not Indiana.
Comments, help us out.
Someplace cranky.
Yeah, I think it's like Nebraska or something.
But yeah, the most notable thing about this guy, he's a great figure. For a vehicle driver, Crankcase is great, right? I don't want to take away from the figure itself.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Elwood G, Indiana is his name. Thank you.
Where's he from?
Lawrence, Kansas.
Ah, he's a Jayhawk.
Mike, you make a good point though, because I remember when I got this guy, and obviously with the Ostriker, I'm like, cool. He comes with a helmet and a pretty bitchin' rifle.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. He had no right to have a rifle that cool. How's he
Right.
going to fire that thing? He's a driver. But
he had
Why not?
He did get some word balloons in the Marvel comic, and he got absolutely next to no run on the Sunbow cartoon. You see him a couple times, but he never has an actual role in things.
His most iconic word balloon in the comic was "Ow!" That sucks.
Yup.
I remember him and Roadblock had a funny exchange in one issue. I remember, but I don't remember where it was. I think it was the Cobra Civil War.
Crankcase puts the awe in Saw Viper.
So I think we have our first private from 1985.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Named the dog Indiana.
We're named the dog Indiana. Everybody do your bad Sean Connery now.
I like that dog.
I like that Indy.
Next. No, and then nobody does the impression.
No.
Okay, whatever.
We're not here to dance for you.
Asshole.
Monkeys.
Right.
Next up is Crimson Guardsman. First premiered with Flint, Lady J, and Shipwreck back in Pyramid of Darkness cartoons.
No, Revenge of Cobra.
I'm sorry, yes. I always do that, but Revenge of Cobra.
Look at the teacher correcting the class.
God.
Right?
Put his name on the board, Ragtime Rob.
But anyways, he's a very popular troop builder, even though he's not a character himself per se. There have been other important characters that have been Crimson Guardsmen, however.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we got to play
Kind of represents them all,
right? Like like Fred 7 is a Crimson Guardsman. Professor Apple is a Crimson Guardsman. So there's important.
Wade Collins
is a Crimson Guardsman. So there's all kinds of important supporting characters that were Crimson Guardsmen.
Elon Musk.
Ragtime Rob, he probably is. Ragtime Rob, get us started on the Crimson Guardsman.
My favorite troop builder. Every time in the comic something sneaky and underhanded was going on, it always started with the Crimson Guard. So they really had something that I wish they had really done more of in the comic was play them up to just be the underground network and the really dangerous part of Cobra, because it's silently undermining the very fabric of society. I think I got to go Major.
Matt Rubin reminds Scoop in the Deke series. Fictional Titanic event that was, but still, he is right.
Yeah,
I'm gonna thank.
I mean, they're cannon fodder in the Deke series, in the cartoon, but for the most part, every once in a while, there'll be some guy undercover. He's a Crimson Guardsman, but
I'm not gonna thank Matt for reminding us of the Deke series.
And
me down, yo.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think they got to go Major.
Mark Webber.
Yeah, for a guy without any identity, right, or multiple identities, this guy's so rock solid, it's ridiculous, right? Almost every iteration of Joe uses the Crimson Guard and doesn't change them much at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because he's damn near perfect. So yeah, Major for me, which is super high praise for a troop builder, right?
Yeah.
Right. We have not been particularly kind to troop builders.
No,
and they have their role, they have their place,
right?
And this is really like the first year you get a lot of troop builders.
Yeah, and this guy is top of the heap,
where you start to get a lot of variety in them.
But yeah, these guys are different. These guys.
He's the best troop builder, isn't he?
He's my favorite. And I think the one with the best story and the most potential.
Well, and I like that almost all the Cobra guys are all dark or black or dark blue or whatever, and this guy's not bright but crimson red,
and they sound ominous.
Yeah, and maybe that was
Crimson Guard just sounds great.
Yeah. Joe Colton, do you have anything to add here?
I was debating between Major and Sergeant, and I looked in like the bullpen here was very split down the middle as well. So he's a unique troop builder. So yeah, I'm good either way.
Yeah, I gotta go Major. I'm with the fellas. So
it's about time for a female Crimson Guard, if you ask me. But
I'm telling you.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I know there've been a couple in the comics.
There was Cadet Deming. I don't know.
Well, in the recent run of the comics, there was for Snake Hunt was Laura 3 something.
Whatever.
Laura 316. Oh,
Yeah.
hell yeah.
What?
Glass breaking.
What?
Larry, bless his heart, I think he's just started calling her Laura now. Because we can't remember numbers. The whole fan base is too old for that sort of thing now.
Trying to push out a lot of Snake Hunt, but anyway.
Right. But I think because of all of the individual characters that were Crimson Guardsmen and were important to the various parts of the G.I. Joe mythos, I think Major is an easy sell there. But moving forward, up next, Dusty, the traitor. Dusty.
Spoiler.
Right.
Too soon, man. Too
Spoiler
soon.
for a 38-year-old cartoon.
35-year-old show.
I got it on the DVD, man.
So we got a good look at Dusty in those 2 episodes. We got an occasional good look at Dusty in the comic books. But on the whole, kind of a guy who didn't get a whole lot of spotlight. I've got him somewhere in that sergeant or corporal line. Somebody convince me where to go.
I would go sergeant because I think the stories where Dusty took a focus, he was a big deal on that. A lot of times he's part of a group, but he's kind of an important part of the group at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
I like that they introduced a desert trooper. Very cool.
Yeah.
And the figure's great, despite that $150 bipod. But he is so bland. And there's no doubt why they chose him to be the traitor guy, because nobody knew anything about him or cared anything specifically for him. So who's a tabula rasa? Who's something we can put this on, and it'll define him, give him a little flavor. I like the figure. I guess I could say I like the character. There's just not much there. He's a corporal to me. I think he's better than the other 2 corporals, but I don't think he was as important as Alpine or Stinking Bazooka.
I think he's as important as Alpine.
Yeah, I think he's more important
I think
than
he
Bazooka.
gets as much play as Alpine does.
Could we put him at sergeant and drop Bazooka to corporal?
Yeah, I'm
I
okay
hate
with
Bazooka. Hate that guy.
Nah.
I would put him on the sergeant line.
I'm inclined to agree. I think he had the Neil Ross factor on the cartoon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that was a guy who they knew was a great actor, and so they threw a lot at him, whether it was Dusty or Shipwreck, or even Thunder on occasion. They knew Neil Ross would be able to pull it off. So I think Dusty's Sunbow spotlights, and there were a couple, push him to the sergeant line, but he also got some run in a couple little special missions issues. He was there for the death of Mangler. He was there.
He even got a little bit of run during the Benzene
Battle of Benzene.
storyline. Yeah.
Yes, and so I think Dusty's just a guy who he's important. He's not major important, but he's sergeant important. No vehement denials.
I'm not going to die on the Dusty Hill.
All right. The hill is already dusty, Mark.
Yeah, it's fine.
That brings us to the Cobra Eel. Fantastic figure.
Yeah.
Kind of a nothing burger in terms of what they did.
Yeah.
They showed up and looked cool. So
they came swimming by and
yeah, I mean,
best doing it, but
yeah, best of the Cobra divers. But in terms of characters and how what they influence, do we have anything here? Do we have a private or somebody talk me out of private now?
He didn't do anything, but he looks awesome.
Yeah,
he came with so much stuff, right? Like
when I saw
the one
on the
one
screen,
saving grace that would bump the eel up would be he looks damn cool, but yeah.
He's great. He's too good to be just in private, even though they never did much.
Yeah.
A figure that good can't be down there with the bottom feeders.
I concur.
Right?
When I saw the eel come on screen, like the group of them like swimming, I was like, this is going to be interesting.
All right.
Out of this year's assortment, when I was buying the figures, this was the first one I picked up.
When you saw him on the shelf as a kid
Yeah.
with all
Yeah.
that stuff,
Yeah,
Or
and
not,
this is a-
got his moment. Eels kicked Flint's ass.
you know,
that's true.
Well, to
I mean, I
start,
would-
and then he kind of turned it around on him.
I wouldn't put that on a resume. I mean, Flint kind of led with the chin, but the Eels are no more important overall than Televipers. But come on, they're not on.
They're
the same
really
level.
cool.
Yeah, you know what? I think Eels might get the corporal run just because they're popular for some reason.
Because they look damn good.
They look great. They're
That's
quite
it.
big.
They're a corporal because people like them.
That's it.
All right, up next, Flint. We know he's going top 2 somewhere.
Yeah.
Mark Weber, talk to me about Flint.
Man, this is a hard one because he's right on that line, right?
Yeah,
He is not quite some of the other general characters, right? He's not Scarlet, he's not Snake Eyes, he's not quite Duke, but he is not far behind. So if he's on general, he is a low-level general, 1-star general, but he's
Brigadier.
no lower than a top-level major. Right on that line. I could go either way, but I guess if I had to, and that's what this is all about, I would put him at major. He's a fantastic major,
Yeah.
but he is not quite the quintessential, jaw-dropping cross-media star that Duke, Snake Eyes, Scarlet, Roadblock are.
Joe Colton, talk to me about Flint.
I don't know. I'm torn with Mark. Like, he's really, really good. So I would low general, top major. I don't know. I gotta think about that one.
All right, we'll come back to you. Rack time, Rob. Finish dying. Talk to me about Flint.
All right. Oop, hang on.
That cough didn't even sound.
Nope,
I know.
he's that good.
He never, when he got introduced to the comic book, he never went away. I think it took a little while for him to find his footing, but he never went away once he did.
And he's always been important in
And he's always been important.
Mhm.
Yeah, most storylines, right? He's
Yeah.
never like some background character.
And when it comes to the cartoon, I mean, 2 words: Bill Ratner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I think I have to go general.
to be clear, I liked him more than Duke. Flint's one of my favorites,
Yeah,
but
Flint all the way.
I would never spin that he was more important than Duke or got more run.
But
No.
I would say that Flint was very much the poster boy overseas, as the gallery is telling us. I would also say Flint was a bigger deal for Devil's Due, which was a long run of comic
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah.
Flint's still getting a run.
He let
Yeah.
his wife die.
Yeah.
Let his wife die. Just
Let
saying.
his life die.
Yeah.
He didn't. What's he going to do? Teleport back and take bullets? I mean, no.
Superman would. Just saying.
I mean, Superman would fly the Earth around backwards and reverse time, but Flint doesn't have that one in his bag of tricks.
I guess not.
I think I'm gonna call back to a previous episode, and we kind of put gung ho on the line of, he was probably a general before and he's a major now, and that's where we put him, was at major. Is Flint a bigger deal than gung ho?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I that was my deciding factor. I would vote general.
I think so. I don't think he's outranking too many in the general class,
Mm-hmm.
but I think he's a general.
Low level general.
Yeah.
Ain't a bad place to be.
No, but still a general.
Still there. Boom. You're welcome, Bill. Boom shakalaka.
Next up.
Next up is that monster with his brute strength Footloose. And if you want to know what I'm talking about there, go watch our Toon Talking episode with Michael Mercy over on his channel.
Or just watch the opening credits to the 85, cartoon.
Right. We discussed Footloose's role in the opening credits of the G.I. Joe cartoon. But Footloose here is another guy who didn't get a ton of run. He got a little bit on Sunbow, not much in the comic book in the States. Was for some reason a big deal overseas. Again, I think it was because they knew nothing much was being done with Footloose in the States. So, hey, let's go with Footloose. But not much since. So I got Footloose as one of the many-headed corporal that is going to wind up taking charge of this list.
Yeah.
Anybody?
Fine. I should have liked him more because I like the authentic military guys, but
It's a good figure. Yeah.
aside from the crotch, which is for a 12-inch figure,
You are incorrect.
I mean, you can say that. Don't make it so.
He's got a belt on, and there's flaps under the belt. Come on.
And he's also got those little elastic Velcro things to help hold it on. So,
Well, look, man, he wants to be secure on the battlefield. We all do.
Nobody wants to drop trowel in the middle of the battle.
you can depends on Footloose.
Right. But I think Footloose ultimately got too much run on Sunbow to be a private. Man.
That's fine. He's better than Crankcase. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
He's better than the Stinger driver.
If you got one line, you're better than Crankcase.
He was just kind of bland to me. I didn't like the code name, and the diaper bothered me.
He is from Indiana.
He is, yes, from Gary.
His name is Lee, Kansas.
Larry, Kansas.
Larry P. Kansas. Okay. And that brings us to Frostbite.
Private.
Another great figure.
Great thing.
Great driver figure. He had that cool scope on his gun. He came with the Snowcat, which was badass. And he's totally a private.
Yep.
Later on, though, they make him a redhead, and that guy's a corporal.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Wow.
Tiger Force Frostbite is a corporal. Okay, sure. Why not? But in the meantime, regular strength Frostbite going right down here. Unless anybody has any problems, going once, going twice.
No, but he kicks the snot out of Crankcase.
That 13th figure that the club made of him, years ago, so much better than it has any right to be for a character like Frostbite.
Right.
A great figure.
Yeah.
A highlight out of all the figures they ever did.
Yeah. I mean, Frostbite's neat, but just for whatever reason, didn't stick with the fans. He did get a line on the cartoon.
Yeah.
An episode that had Frostbite for a couple seconds.
Yeah.
It never helped in the cartoon when the Snowcat pulls up and there's Frostbite. Oh, and then there's 8 more Snowcats other guys can drive too.
Right.
Yeah.
The Snowcat was a much bigger deal than Frostbite was.
Right. What are you? I'm the Snowcat driver. Doesn't everybody drive a Snowcat?
Yeah, I mean, isn't it like driving a car?
Destro flies a Sky Striker, for God's sake.
Along the same lines is Heavy Metal, who you might argue, like Crankcase, the most important thing he did was die.
Yep.
Even if you go back to the Sunbow run, Heavy Metal did have an episode where he was a major character. He was another Neil Ross guy who was there to pontificate in very dramatic fashion at Flint when they were leading a failed charge. But even like the episode that focused on the Mauler, Arts and Cannons, even that episode didn't have Heavy Metal.
Dusty and Footloose.
Right. So I think we have another entry into the private sweepstakes. Anybody?
Yes.
Yeah.
If
I'm
he
not
had-
fighting you.
If he had his damn mic, I'd put him at sergeant. But
With the microphone, he's a major, but with that, no, he's a great figure too. Again, great figure.
Yeah, nicely detailed, good sculpt.
love the paint. The paint spray is awesome, right?
Yeah, for the 5 o'clock shadow. Yeah.
Yeah.
In 87, we'll be back to put Rumbler on the same line.
I wonder, and I've never heard this, but I bet they had to fight to keep that. I'm sure there were some marketers going, "What's going on with his face? I don't like it." Because that's what we do.
Yeah.
Matt Rubin asked, "What did we do with Frostbite?" I cut off. We put him on a private line. He's private. Okay, so that brings us to Admiral Keelhaul. Continuing a trend.
Yeah.
Private.
Yeah, again, great figure. But having a really hard to find gun is his most endearing trait, and that's not at all endearing. He great figure that did not really appear in the comic book ever. Got replaced entirely on the cartoon by Admiral.
They stole his boat, man.
Yeah, like the flag is much bigger star than Admiral Keelhaul is, so he's a total non-factor. it's ironic to me that
Mhm.
perhaps the highest ranking of the Joes is the lowest of privates.
Yeah. But I believe my first ever eBay purchase, once I was introduced to eBay in its infancy, I'm like, really? Well, goddamn, I never had that Admiral Keelhawk, so I never had the flag. Let me type it in. It was like, $8 or something back then.
Was it the actual one that came with the flag, or was it one of the ones that they had through mail order?
I think I was keen enough to get an actual flag one, but regardless, my first bite, I was like, I'm in. I can get him for $8. Send it.
Joe Colton, what was your first G.I. Joe purchase on eBay?
Oh my god. eBay?
Yeah. No idea?
I have no idea. Do you know how many things I buy each week?
I'm sure I've seen your house, so yes.
Yeah.
Rack Time Rob, what was your first Joe purchase on eBay?
I think maybe Buzzer.
Oh.
Mine, of course, Slugger with Thunder.
There you go.
$11
on that table.
$11.
Love Thunder.
I was a senior in college.
Came with Sergeant
Wow.
Slaughter's waist, which is weird.
It was strange. It was bizarre. But you want to talk about a diaper? Ooh. Anyways,
Yeah, that's true. Especially on Thunder.
right. He was
It's
Thunder
his
for
truss.
some reason.
Loading shells into it's his truss.
The winner and your new United States heavyweight champion, Thunder, Matt Breckenridge.
His championship cummerbund.
Brings us to Lady J. More Joe royalty. I honestly, I know she'll forever be linked to Flint, but I think in recent years,
Mhm.
J has nosed ahead of Flint in terms of being popular and important.
Yeah.
Any arguments?
No.
About to get her own series, right?
Right,
Maybe.
right.
Possibly.
I mean, at least it was tossed out there and developed.
She is damn near Scarlett's equal, which is hard to believe, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When you consider how over Scarlett was forever.
Yeah.
That they would introduce another female and have her be different enough and important enough to rival Scarlett in popularity.
And can hold her own as well.
Yeah, and she wasn't a garbage, totally unique character. So,
Yeah.
So I think Lady J goes right to the top of the line.
Yep.
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, that gets us to the Cobra Lamprey. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Lady.
You were gonna say Lady J to me.
You are Lady J on some level,
I
right?
almost went Lady Joe, actually, but
Oh, okay. I was just gonna say, only female in this year. Just saying.
There's only one female in every year.
Yeah. Well, later on it's
yeah,
fine.
what, like the 2000s?
Yeah. A few more years.
And after 87, no more females until
The 90s, yeah.
until
other than
Ninja Force Scarlet.
CoverGirl as a character and as a figure, not that big a deal, but the Wolverine, a big deal.
Yeah.
The girl figures always whipped ass. Like,
Mm-hmm. And each
And
were
they-
unique. Like,
Mhm.
That's why it annoyed me so much when they made CoverGirl into Scarlet Light and DDP.
Yeah.
It really
I
bothered me.
understand that.
I
Not as-
went to spy school. No, go fix the tank. That's why you were on.
We liked you because you fixed the tank.
they should
Go build something incredible.
put her in a 2-pack with Hannibal and
and a nondescript spirit.
Three
Oh, three-pack.
pack, nondescript repaint Spirit in there, and you've got a ace seller.
Oh, goodness.
That one's for Gary.
All right. Next up.
Next up is the Cobra Lamprey, the Moray driver.
Yeah.
Whatever.
God, I love the lamp. I love the Moray, and really,
Oh, yeah.
Cool boat, cool figure.
yeah, great figure. Got a cool,
No impact.
absolutely zero.
Who cares?
Love the helmet. Helmet's killing it.
Yeah. Oh,
But I know he drives a fast boat, but that life preserver is a little much.
The Mae West.
the way they,
And somewhere out there, Cutter's like, that's not that big a life preserver at all.
Yeah.
so I think he's taking his spot right next to his buddy Keelhaul.
He's
Yeah.
a cool looking private, but he's a private.
Yeah, doesn't. You ask Joe fan on the street, and they're like, "Yeah, Lamprey's cool," and that's the end of the discussion.
Yeah.
Brings us to Quick Kick. Quick Kick heavily spotlighted in Sunbow for that first year of the regular series. You never really saw him again. You certainly never heard him again in season 2. But
a lot of the 85 guys take a big backseat.
They just disappear. But Quick Kick did get a pretty hefty spotlight. Trouble is with that is that Quick Kick really never got a hefty spotlight anywhere else.
Citizen liked him.
Yeah, very true. Very true. That is something.
But that is kind of a dark period in Joe Comics for most fans. So.
Right.
Beat up Snake Eyes.
Had him beat up Snake Eyes. Ragtime Rob, why don't you give me a line on Quick Kick and we'll figure.
I think just because he got such a heavy play in 85, he might be a sergeant. Because he does have, I mean, there's some standout things he does in the comic too. One of which is getting captured, but
that's true.
Led the league in getting captured.
But it was kind of, it was kind of an interesting storyline though. So,
and he did have a mental breakdown when they killed Doc.
Yeah, that's all right. He got over it pretty quick by dying himself.
By dying. But I struggle with this. I think he's a guy who kind of rides the line.
You could make him sergeant or corporal, and I wouldn't argue. I didn't care for him much.
He wasn't my. I actually liked what they did with him when they put him out in Pursuit of Cobra. I thought that's really the best Quick Kick figure because it gave him shoes. But Joe Colton, what's your thinking here?
Corporal?
Yeah, I mean, I keep coming back to that. I look at the guys on that sergeant line.
Like, no, yeah.
And he's not quite there.
I don't think he's as important as the other three that we have up there. So
he's not quite there. But then I look at the guys on the corporal line, and
he's better than them.
Better than all of them.
Yeah.
So he's King Corporal.
I think
he's better than the guys on the corporal line.
Yeah.
He's a low sergeant.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think ultimately 85 was his 1 year, right? But man, what a year.
Yeah, I'll give it to him there.
What a year.
It's your only year.
That kind of fits. You know, you take a look at it, and that doesn't fit as well as that does.
Yeah.
All right.
I think he hangs more with this group than
That brings us to Ripper.
Okay.
Another Dreadnought. In terms of personality, probably the most indistinct of the original three. In that, if you look, Buzzer had his moments in the comic, Torch had his moments in the cartoon, and Ripper was just there for both of them.
Yeah.
So, Mark Weber, what you're thinking on Ripper?
I'm trying to think if there's a Dreadnought I'd make a private. Maybe Zanzibar down the line, but pretty much if you're in the Dreadnoughts, your floor is corporal. So that's where I'd put Ripper. Not a whole lot going on. Came with a lot of stuff. Whenever I did anything with my toys as a kid, the Dreadnoughts as a trio were always they were the Freebirds basically, right? Always together, always stirring stuff up. So
I mean they are a match set, in many ways. These three guys are a match set.
Yeah, so I'll put old Bam Bam Gordy here as a corporal.
All right, rack time, Rob.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like the fact that they're how many episodes are the Dreadnoughts on of the year of the series both years, and then the Dreadnoughts got heavy play in the comics.
Yeah,
up until about like issue 80 something. Which gives them a run of like 60 issues.
Yeah.
I almost put them as Sergeant just because I can't see Buzzer, Ripper, and Torch as not. I can't see one without the other two.
Yeah, but Buzzer always had a little bit more going on, I thought.
He does. I mean, he's definitely the. He's kind of the guy in charge when Zartan's not there, but
Yeah, he's Michael Hayes. He is.
I don't know if he's the greatest guy to be in charge either. I mean, we saw what happened when he stole Zartan's bike.
Well, yeah, that's what you like about the Starscream type guys, right? They think they should be in charge, but they probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's good. Starscream's a good analogy.
He's not as antagonistic.
No,
but
he's still sneaky.
He's just
I think he'd sell Zartan for a nickel, but
Yeah, and then he would sweep you away on his Panhead Harley to New South Wales.
Yeah.
So I mean, Ripper, are we doing Corporal Ripper here?
I think so.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
So
you can two for him if you want to save time.
Yeah, I want to put him up on the sergeant line, so we got a matching set there. But I can't think of a single distinctive thing Ripper did. I mean, other than Rip stuff.
Wasn't he the first guy with the grape soda line?
Was he?
I don't know.
Is that really enough to get off the corporal line?
No. That's where I think it should be.
Up next, Shipwreck. And Shipwreck here, big in the Sunbow. Really big in animation in general, because he keeps popping back up in Spy Troops and Valor versus Venom and all these other, he even showed up in Renegades. And then really a not much of a factor in print medium, not in the main title by any run. He's popped up in some other ones, but
Larry stuff does not have a lot of Shipwreck. Devil's Due had a lot more Shipwreck.
Yeah, he figured in the Devil's Due a lot more.
Yeah.
So what do we have for Shipwreck? Joe Colton. What do we have for Shipwreck?
Definitely. I'm Sergeant Major. Major.
Yeah.
Go with Major.
Mark Weber.
I like how she started with definitely and then thought about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But I'm with her. Major. Can't be general. Not that big a deal.
No.
But look at those guys on the sergeant line.
Yeah, that's what I was like.
Yeah, he's at least as good as Gung Ho.
Yeah.
Yep, Major.
And as popular. So
he might, other than like Cobra Commander or Crankcase, he's one of the easiest picks here, I think.
yeah.
He's like, he's one of those guys, but he's not the guy, right? Boom.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, anything in the comics done with him might have put him into a general, but because he's that big on the cartoon.
I didn't like him that much, but he's a big deal.
I kind of did. I
liked him in the cartoon.
Yeah.
With his faults and all.
Yeah.
They gave him a lot of spotlights too.
Yeah.
Again, Neil Ross guy. So let's let Neil do some heavy lifting.
Yeah.
Up next is Snake Eyes. I'm going to go ahead and drop him up here.
Yeah, there you go.
Then we got a Snow Serpent.
Especially that Snake Eyes look. I mean,
we don't have a general line high enough for 85 Snake Eyes.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the Snow Serpent. Real cool army builder again.
Yeah, really, really cool figure.
Great figure. You would see him when the Cobras were playing in the snow.
Mm-hmm.
Can't say that they ever did anything particularly distinctive.
Yeah.
Mark Weber, you got any thoughts here?
He's an eel, basically. He's a great figure that everybody likes that never had much impact. Right?
If you remember the file card, he's literally an eel. But anyway.
That's a good point. But yeah, he's a corporal to me. Because the figure's awesome. No awesome figure is going to sit on the private line for me. I don't care what they did in the cartoon and the comic. If it's a fantastic figure, you're getting at least the corporal bump for me. That's
a really good. Yeah, like I said, just like the eel, he's too cool a figure to be a private, even though it's like he's got the impact of a thimble of water in the ocean. But
right, he's popular with the fans for reasons that maybe he shouldn't be, but there's enough people out there that I think have that as, oh, that's my favorite. That whatever, he's a corporal.
Great figure.
You talk about Snow Serpents to fans, they know exactly what you're talking about right away. Okay, this gentleman in the dark visor, that's Starduster.
And we know where he's going, don't we?
Who was first available in 1985, so we got him in here.
We can just jet him right up to the private line.
Right?
He doesn't have to go very far.
Yeah, not much gas in that jetpack, but it'll get
No,
him private.
just enough to get you on the back of a cereal box.
Yes.
Cool looking figure.
Full figure for Frank and Joe, if you will. Don't want to diss the effort there, but never got used in anything.
Yeah, no media at all. Yeah, it's just
He was
comic, no cartoon. He got like little mini comics in the cereal box. That was it.
there to sell cereal.
Yeah.
I'm glad that he's a
25th anniversary.
I'm glad that he's a cool looking figure because he is a collection breaker, right? For how expensive he is.
He sure is.
But at least he looks cool because it would break your soul to drop 3 bills on a Starduster if it was a bad figure.
Yeah.
So,
And then have to do 3 bills to get the other version of him.
right.
And then 3 more bills to get the other version of him.
Yeah, one's fine for me.
Me
But
too.
one of the last ones in my collection, actually a gift from a good friend. So I appreciate that.
I have a Starduster, but he's not complete. I do not have the visor for
The
Starduster.
visor's a cool bit.
Yeah, it really is.
You're only one 82 visor and a Sharpie pen away from completing.
Yeah, you really.
Look, 82 visors are tough enough.
That's true too.
Okay, so we got the Cobra Televiper up next.
Oof.
And he's the eel and he's the snow serpent, but he's not quite as cool
Right.
because he's got a giant head.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
But at least there's a reason for him to have a giant head. He's got a lot of stuff on it.
Yeah, Televipers also got used a lot more often.
That's true.
You
But
saw
that's-
Televipers all over the comic. You saw them all over the cartoon. They had a purpose. They had a function. They have that over their counterparts in the eel and the snow serpent course.
But what they have and he doesn't, that figure sucks.
I don't think it sucks. I think
Oh.
But it's
No.
not the level of the eel and the snow serpent.
Got no weapon at all. All he's got is like this foghorn, handheld foghorn.
Whatever
With a-
that thing is.
With a tube.
that's a communications jammer.
It looks like it shoots confetti, right? Come on.
If
And
it were the old Batman TV show, it would.
Nicholas Adams asked us a superhead.
Right?
Yes.
We used to throw pillows at him.
Throw pillows at that nugget and watch it fall over.
He sucked. And if you remember, his modern figure sucked too. With those bad wrists. Like, oh.
At least they fit the trouble bubble.
They
bad.
did do him great in Spy Troops though.
Yeah.
And,
I
and
have those. I don't remember them.
for anybody who's wondering, we do have the Superhead bit on our TikTok feed. So go ahead, go like us there. That's something new we're trying.
Best
Giant
comment
head.
ever. Might be best comment ever.
Oh my
Superhead.
Just the Ballad of Superhead.
Oh,
Oh my goodness. I gotta go corporal here, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody talk me out of it?
No.
I will. That figure sucks.
I don't think it sucks. But
You
if,
got Televiper for your birthday and pretended you were okay with it. Nobody went, ooh, I'm getting that guy.
When did I get a Televiper? I know I had a Televiper for a long time before Ragtime Rob got one.
It was a gift. I guarantee it was a gift.
Probably.
No kid picked that off the peg on purpose, unless they had everybody else. Those
I mean-
rich kids.
He looked sufficiently evil, so
Yeah,
he did look like a cobra.
with his confetti cannon. Bah.
up next is Tollbooth.
Tiger Force toll booth?
Tiger Force
No.
Tollbooth is a general, but regular Tollbooth. I mean, he showed up on the cartoon a couple times. We know what he sounded like, but I don't think we ever saw his legs. He was there.
Here's every line ever. Here we go, Flint.
Ready to drop that bridge. He was like a centaur. He was just body sticking out of that tank.
A cyborg bridge layer.
I love Tollbooth. I love the bridge layer, but he is right at home next to his
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
he is.
man. So many great figures on that private line. Just it breaks my heart, but they did nothing with him. Granted, there was a lot going on above that private line.
You can tell what toll booth think.
There's always something fun going on below the private line.
You can tell what Tolbooth's thinking right now. Hey, that guy sucks right above me. How come he gets to be a corporal?
They gave him a job. That's what it was. He wasn't a centaur.
He works construction, man.
He
That's
had legs.
man's work.
So now let's get to Torch. On the cartoon, Torch was kind of the buzzer role. He was the dreadnought that Zartan would occasionally give responsibilities to, or would occasionally show initiative on his own. I agree with Mark. I thought he was the coolest looking of those first three.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I also thought he had the best dreadnought-y weapon in a cutter or flamethrower, however you wanted to play it.
I don't know. I think the most made maxi weapon is Ripper's rifle with the
I do
bayonet.
like Ripper's rifles.
Yeah, I'll give credit for that. But I think he was more than Ripper. I don't think he was quite as much as Buzzer, so that makes this difficult for me.
I think if Ripper's a corporal, I think Torch is a corporal.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I agree with that. Buzzer's the lead, and the other two are supporting cast.
Buzzer's a little bit more.
Yep. Comes with a pizza cutter.
Yeah.
Kind of. Corporal Torch, come on down.
He called the cops right away when a bar fight broke out. Right there.
There you go.
What's the bar fight? Gets him down to corporal.
That is a great episode.
Dreadnoughts don't want any part of a bar fight. That's not what they're there for.
That is an entertaining episode.
Lights, Camera, Cobra is one of the best. One of the absolute best. So, yeah, I guess. I mean, I tend to think Sergeant, he's not quite as big as the other guys in the Sergeant line, but I think, again, he had just that little nudge more. But you know what? I'm outvoted, so I'm going to go ahead and drop him on the corporal line. I'm
and
out.
Not that we aren't running long already, but our pal Nick Adams is back with a Superhead update.
Oh my God, Superhead update. Here we go. Superhead wanted me to tell you that he'd grown into his big ass balloon head, but I told him that wasn't the story of triumph he thought it was.
Well, there's the second best comment ever.
Oh, we love you, Superhead.
Do you still call him Superhead? That's what I want to hear.
Yeah.
Oof, that's tough.
Is he in your phone as Superhead?
Right. We'll save this for a little bit. We are running long. We got a couple left to do, and Mark's got apparently just a shit ton of stuff to share tonight.
Oh,
So.
swear you are.
I mean, Joe already broke the seal.
Yeah, but you don't go through the forbidden door very often. Very nice.
Sometimes.
Once in a while.
So then we got I got Listen and Fun Tripwire. I was going to drop him right here next to his pal.
I didn't even know that figure existed back then.
Wow.
I had to include
but fair.
Yeah.
to include him. Had to do it.
Truth in advertising, they could have just left it at Listen.
Yeah. Hurtful, but fair.
See, I would have said it was more like fun, and you couldn't help but listen because it was so loud. So that gets us to Tomax and Zaymot, the twins.
I like that they are together on a card for you.
Yeah, I had to put work into this. This is our graphics department busting it. I have them as majors.
Yeah.
I think so. I think they're definitely a big deal, but they're not as big a deal as like Destro and the Baroness.
Yeah.
Or Zartan.
Everybody good?
Yeah.
All right. There we have it. There is the definitive character tier list
No changes.
for 1985. I am saving that bad boy.
It's funny you think of 85. We were pumping it as this great year. There's a lot of bottom feeders there, though.
There's a
Good
lot of
figures.
vehicles that year. Looking at every one of those figures is it's a vehicle driver.
Other than the Televiper.
Yeah. Well, Listen and Fun Tripwire.
So bad.
Listen and
With
Fun
what?
Tripwire. Is there like raw recruit level?
Dude, and he's got one of the hardest to collect file cards because it's like a postage stamp off the back. Like he didn't get a full file card or anything. It just sucks. So people will drop $100 on like a 2x2
this little smidge
square.
of
yeah,
the size of a flag point.
Yeah.
All right. There it is.
Dumb
Except
people will drop $100 on it.
Except no substitutions. It's time for the definitive G.I. Joe character list for 1986. Let's take a look at the big board, everybody. As you can see, we got 29 spots here. Brought to us by the good people at tiermaker.com. I just had to close out a toilet commercial. Go team. You'll see that we do have a four-headed beast here with the supporting cast of Mission Brazil. They will all be ranked as one entity. But strangely enough, Sergeant Slaughter is here twice. Because he also was released twice in 1986.
Yep.
I have to wonder, was this the first time that... no, it's probably wasn't the first time, because there's any number of lines out there that just had one character and he got him in 15 different outfits.
Yeah,
but,
it's called Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Batman.
but
Batman.
But in 1986, like, those were just part of other superhero lines. Like, Batman was one guy in the Superpowers line. We didn't get a second Batman in Superpowers. So, we didn't get a second. We did get a second Spider-Man in Secret Wars, but at least he was wearing a different costume.
That's fair. Is the second Slaughter the Iraqi sympathizer Slaughter?
No, it's mail away Sarge
and triple T.
Triple T Sarge.
All right.
So they are two different things.
Or as I like to call it, Triple T Sarge and Thunder Stole My Hips Sarge.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thunder backup Sarge.
Right. That's how you get the belt off Sergeant Slaughter. You just steal his whole piece.
Take the thing, he put the belt on.
That's
Up
right.
first, we have the AVAC, Air Viper Advanced Class. He was certainly a status symbol to us as kids.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you had that guy, it meant you had a Terradrome, and that meant you were pretty cool. Mark Weber, what do you think here?
I love this guy, but I'm a sucker for vehicle drivers and pilots, and especially the rare ones, the harder to get ones, and the ones that came with accessories, because those are kind of rare. This guy came with a damn fold-over parachute, right?
Right.
Like a pretty good rig that came with him. So, and he looks slick.
You could argue that he came with a pack-away vehicle.
Right? I loved this guy, and that's going to cloud my judgment like crazy, because his overall impact, truly, on the brand and the franchise was not that much.
Negligible.
Right? Yeah. So I realize that I'm totally biased, but I'm gonna, for a guy who made no impact, I'm still gonna make him a corporal because I love him.
All right, Racktime Rob, tell him he's wrong.
You're wrong.
I know I'm wrong, but
I mean, cool figure, comes with a great playset. Firebat's cool. Nobody knows this guy's name even. They don't know what Air Viper stands, that AVAC stands for. He's a private.
Terrible name. I'll give you that too.
Yeah.
AVAC.
Yeah, it wasn't until the club some years later that we got an Air Viper regular class.
Yeah.
So yeah,
he got promoted from HVAC.
You would see them on the cartoons sometimes, but other than that, there's nothing there. He's private all the way. As most of the Cobra Troop builders are.
Wait, Joel,
you saw him in the comic book once, the issue that they introduced the Terradrome.
Back me up, Joe.
I thought about it because of what he comes with, but I can't do it, sir.
Man, if you back me up, it would be 2 versus 2, and then Mike would just win on seniority.
Yes.
But still.
I would just ignore you and put him in the private.
Fine. We got a lot to go. Moving on.
We got to save our fights.
Yeah.
We got the Bat.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the Bat is a little bit more of an argument because the Bat is not only in its 1986 form one of the more popular Cobra Army builders, but the Bat keeps coming back. Like every time there's a renewal of G.I. Joe, there's either some kind of android trooper. If it's not necessarily called a Bat, there's some kind of robot that Cobra's got to do its fighting for it. Or it's the Bat in a different form, all the way up until even Paul Aller's book a couple of years ago, which is the most recent relaunch of the property that wasn't the Snake Eyes movie. So the Bat has a bit more heft to him than our friend the Air Viper. Rack Time Rob, what do you think about the Bat?
As a character, I mean, there's no character.
Yeah, no, there's none there. But in terms
as a figure, as a concept, the Bats are cool. I mean, but it lets the Joes blow things away with indiscriminate rage on the cartoon because they're robots. So who cares? Slip that by the censors. It's a neat idea. It kind of definitely marks a corner. It's another turning point into sci-fi for the Joe property, which was big, this particular year. So I put him Sergeant.
Mark Weber. Oh, Joe Colton, you've joined us.
Go ahead, ladies first.
Joe Colton.
Wait, he's gonna bring it all down. She hates all things cybernetic.
She hates the robots.
I do hate the robots. However, as you've stated, even now in the Classified series, they've come back and they've made them even cooler than they were, and people love to build them, and they're in every iteration for Cobra. So
what ranking would you place the Bat?
I put him as Sergeant. I agree.
Mark Weber?
I mean, I think he's on that Sergeant, straddling that Major line a little bit. I don't think you get better as a troop builder than the Bat, but again, troop builders always have some kind of ceiling because there's no individuality to them, right?
Right.
So I could be swayed either way.
I tend to think that because the Bat is never a character, the highest I can go is Sergeant, and even that is partially just popularity doing the talking.
Would you say Sergeant is the capper for a troop builder?
In a lot of cases,
yeah.
Okay.
In a lot of, like if there were some stories out there, some really long-lasting stories that had individuals from those ranks doing important things, like there's been one-off stories. Like I remember that one episode of the cartoon where there was a female Stratoviper.
Right, and Crimson Guardsmen over the years.
Right.
There have been individuals that do stuff.
Right, there was potential there for them to stretch a little bit higher, and because there's just nowhere else for them to go, because we're using, we're using the toys as the guide. Otherwise, we'd be here all day picking apart all these other, So yeah, there's potential there, but I don't think the Bat, by definition, as just a faceless, soulless android, gets any of that love. I think popularity and reusability gets it to Sergeant, and it's probably on the low level of Sergeant, but that's pretty good for troop builder.
Not bad. I thought I might have to go General to counterbalance Joe, because I was sure she was going to private this guy.
I was sure she was going to hate the
robots, right? If you're not a Borg.
She didn't even care for the Borg that much.
Borgception.
So up next, it's the guy we know and love. It's the guy we came to see. It's Beachhead.
Which version?
Well, I mean, he's got his green balaclava there.
No, I meant with crotch or without crotch.
That is
fully crotched.
Becrotchioed. And or is that crotchioed? I don't know.
Oh.
Anyways, I think everybody thinks that because Beachhead's my favorite character, I'm just gonna throw him at the top of the chart, and they're absolutely right. No, it's not what's gonna happen.
I assume there was a level above General that you were going to reveal here, right? Beachhead, then General, then
Field
Major.
Marshal,
then General Beachhead.
Right.
Sergeant, Major, General Beachhead.
There you go.
But Beachhead is a guy who has a lot of fans. He certainly had a pronounced role on season 2 of the old cartoon. He was around a lot, but didn't necessarily have things to do for some of the comic incarnations. Larry's never used him too much in the main title. I think Beachhead is a guy who's at the Sergeant line. He's got potential to be more if somebody would ever do something with him. But I think what's out there and his fan popularity puts him as a Sergeant. Feedback, Mark Weber.
I think that's pretty dead on. Like I think he has the capacity for more, but he's never been. I don't think he's ever been a darling right, of any of the writers to really, dig in. So
Yeah,
but,
like he's had some moments even where he got really good individual stories, but then nothing was ever built on that. Like there's a good foundation there for Beachhead, I think. But we don't know anything about him as a character. We know he can do a lot of stuff. We know he's an incredibly competent soldier. But that's about it, right?
Yeah. But for speaking of the popularity, I think he's the kind of guy. Whenever a Joe fan sees him on the crew for like the mission, right? Here comes the Tomahawk, the Beachhead's on it. Everybody's always happy to see him.
Right.
Right. This is a guy we like, a guy we trust. So yeah, I think he's a sergeant.
Joe Colton.
Yeah, I'd put him on the sergeant. He was very popular in the cartoon.
He's fourth in command.
True.
Right, or fifth. I don't know. Something like that. Depending on where they put Sergeant Slaughter, right?
Well, I mean, he was a demigod. It's hard to put him in a chain of command.
Hercules stepped down from Olympus.
That boulder is too large. I could lift a smaller one.
So, but yeah, I think Beachhead is high half a sergeant with the potential maybe to be more someday. But right now he's just there. He's a guy. He's certainly above the rank and file, but doesn't have the clout to get much further than that. So everybody in the comments is now disappointed because I didn't try to pull any shenanigans.
Right.
Up next is Claymore. Although he looks,
you're not asking my opinion.
No, I don't care.
Oh,
I don't care at all.
What is happening?
What do you want, Rob? What is it? What do you have to say?
I was going to put him a little higher.
Well,
I think he's like Shipwreck in the fact that very popular in the cartoon, not a lot of use in the comic, and every time G.I. Joe comes back, who's in an early assortment? Beachhead.
Right. Even more so than Shipwreck, even. But I think more was done.
I mean, we're still waiting on Shipwreck and Classified.
I think that's the difference is more was done with Shipwreck from a story standpoint.
True.
Like there was never Shipwreck got a lot of heavy lifting to do from a character standpoint throughout Sunbow and throughout other incarnations of the animation and so Beachhead never got that. He's had a couple of highlight stories in some one-shot comics, and that's about it.
Sometime down the road, some new brand manager we don't know yet, who doesn't know the brand at all, is going to make him like a bleached blonde surfer guy, and he's going to be all shaka bra, and it's going to be amazing.
That happened once. I think it was Spy Troops or Valor versus Venom or something had Beachhead talking like the surfer guy.
Oh man!
Because they thought it was actually like a beach.
So up next is Claymore, and Claymore is a fun figure and hard to find, but he didn't do nothing. So Private.
Yeah.
When I was collecting G.I. Joe, I did not know he existed.
Yeah. I found out very late, but I was excited. I liked him more than the other Brazil guys because he was at least unique.
Yeah.
Right? He's the Sky Striker of that group, the figure. So I like him, but he never did nothing.
No, there's not a whole lot of impact there. He got an arc in IDW's G.I. Joe, and that was about it.
He got a story, I think.
Yeah, he got a story.
Sure.
Up next is Cross Country.
Private.
Yeah.
Wow, that was said with some disgust.
Yeah, we don't like the belt buckle.
So nobody likes the belt buckle, but so Cross Country. I mean, the argument is
some people really like the belt buckle.
Look, so anyways, the argument for Cross Country is corporal or private.
Private.
Everybody's got him on private. Okay,
private.
A little higher. He's better than Claymore, right? But not
a non-entity in the comics and a twit on the cartoon.
Yeah. If he didn't come with a fantastic A+ vehicle, we wouldn't even be talking about him at all.
Well, he didn't.
You don't like the Havoc?
I wouldn't call it an A+.
Ooh, Havoc's a big deal, brother.
I like the Havoc, but it's not like if we were doing a tier list of vehicles, the Havoc would not be making the general class.
I think you're underselling.
Yeah, I think.
The
Yeah.
Havoc, the Havoc
It's
is
a-
the first of those GI Joe vehicles where you look at it and you go, it's kind of Army because it's green, but really that's a rolling death trap.
Yeah, well, I'll give you some of that. And I never liked the ones where the guy sat in the cockpit like totally face down
Yeah.
or face up. Like, come on. But I think
Look.
if it's your personal opinion, can't argue with it. But I think you're underselling the overall popularity of the Havoc.
I think the Havoc was miscast on the cartoon as a tank. I think the Havoc is a mobile artillery unit, like the Slugger, more so than it's a tank.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
It's a behind the line vehicle.
so I got thumped on that one 3-1. So cross country will be a private. Up next is Dial Tone, and Dial Tone is another one of that class of '86 guy that had a whole lot of spotlight shots on season 2 of Sunbow and then wasn't seen again. And in fact, probably the most significant thing Dial Tone has done since then was get recast as a woman in Resolute. So, Mark Weber, where do you have Dial Tone?
I loved Dial Tone because he's the first Joe from Oregon. And that was a big deal for me as a kid in Oregon. But originally, when he came out, I looked at the file card. I'm like, communications guy, that's Breaker. I don't need a communications guy. What are they doing? So if there was an internet, boy, I would have been pounding on those keys. What are you trying to do? Ruin my life. But he's so cool looking. Love the gear. Love that he's more high tech, but it's just dull. There just wasn't ever much going on with Dial Tone. So cool sculpt, cool gear. Love that he's from Oregon, but just dull still. That's private territory for me. Even though I always liked the figure, it's just dull.
Joe Colton, where are we going on Dial Tone?
Private.
Wow. Rack time, Rob.
I was gonna go Corporal.
Oh.
Yeah,
Because he does get some play on the cartoon.
Yeah, I don't have him any higher than that either. I thought he was fun on the cartoon. At least he was a lovable schlub.
Yeah, I mean he's one of the few guys on the cartoon who was introduced who wasn't a total jerk. A lot of the '86 Joes. I mean, basically, when they show up on their cartoon, they are unlikable SOBs.
He's better than the other privates we have up there. I'll give you that. So.
But Ed Bagaluca says female Dial Tone premiered in IDW, got a figure early in Rise of Cobra, and then showed up in Resolute. Okay, so good.
Yeah.
Good, Ed, good points.
Yeah.
More action in 28 to 2010 than Jack Morelli ever did.
Look at that mustache. Jack Morelli got plenty of action.
Well, I mean, you know it. He was one of the few guys on that Sunbow series to get a date.
Right? Free mustache rides.
So I like Dial Tone as a corporal. I'm going to go with Rob on this one.
All right.
And
I'm not dying on that hill.
I look at the private line, and Dial Tone is more than those guys.
Yeah, that's fair.
He's got a little bit more of an oomph. Easy. Oh, there we go. Okay. Getting killed by the lag today. Up next, Dr. Mindbender. I think Dr. Mindbender is the first time we get into the upper tiers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Why don't you go ahead and start discussion there, Rob?
I'm still kind of debating where I want to put Mindbender. I'm kind of between General or Major.
I think
I'm kind of leaning a little bit more towards General just because his character does have a big impact.
I think in terms of story, you're probably right. But I think in terms of overall impact, like I look at the other guys we have as generals, and it's Duke and Roadblock and Snake Eyes, and Dr. Mindbender doesn't quite have that cachet.
I know. That's why I'm kind of like,
he's definitely a major, but I'll like I said, I wanted to hear you guys talk about it. So, Joe Colton, what do you think about Dr. Mindbender?
Probably a major for me. He's very popular. He's not a general, but he's like a high major. But he's not as popular as like the big ones, like Cobra Commander, Duke,
Is
Snake.
he important? Definitely.
Hugely.
Yes.
But I don't know if he's popular enough to pull off General. Mark Webber, what do you think?
It's like Grandma Weber always said, skin to win, baby. So, Dr. Mindbender, for me, to be a general, you have to can't quite imagine the brand without him, right?
Right.
And he's just not quite that, but he's still incredibly valuable and present in almost every incarnation, right? So, yeah, up there with Major. And when Little Weber got that Mindbender figure, he couldn't wait to rip open that plastic, grab that cape, and put it on Serpentor. Man, did that look good on Serpentor instead of that crappy little green cape they gave him. So my Mindbender was even more fabulous, right? Because he was just pro wrestler, basically.
Right? He was fighting Ric Flair.
Yeah, and losing, but okay.
Of course he is. He's a bad guy.
Yeah. Well, it's Flair.
Well, so is Ric Flair. But anyways,
Yeah.
Moving on. We get a good handle on Mindbender there. I thought there was going to be more of an argument there. Gatorade Bob with the line of the night so far.
No shirt, no shoes, no general.
There we go. Nowhere to
No
pin
stars
that.
on your shoulder.
Well done, Bob.
Wait a minute, wasn't Zartan a general?
He's got
that half shirt thing.
A removable shirt.
He's got, well, yeah, of course it's removable.
I guess all shirts are removable, technically.
Right?
I would hope. If not, you've had it on too long.
Gung Ho was a major, right?
Gung Ho was a major, yes.
All right.
So that brings us to General Hawk. And this is one where I thought there was going to be a fight. Because throwing his name, General Hawk, out, I don't know if he's a general on our tier list. And so, Mark Webber, talk to me about General Hawk.
I mean, it doesn't even make sense to say General Hawk is a major. Like, huh? What are you doing?
It's backwards.
No, he's the guy, and this is the iconic version of him. Because even though in 82, I'm looking at the file cards, I'm like, oh, well, this guy's the boss.
Right.
He didn't look like the boss.
No,
right?
he was a schmo.
Came with a terrible vehicle, nothing other than the silver, nothing terribly compelling about him. This is the version that's a big deal. This is the version that was in charge. Unless you just were a steady devotee of the comic book and knew that, spike-haired Blondie Hawk was the boss. This is the guy, and this is the version. And I can't imagine him not being a general. This is Hawk, the leader of G.I. Joe.
Joe Colton, any thoughts contrary to that? Rack time, Rob?
I want to say general. And in fact, I'm not going to fight anybody who wants to put him up on general.
Good.
But there's one nagging thing about Hawk. Nobody knows the general public doesn't know he's in charge.
Right.
I'll give you that.
My feeling on it too is that the leader of G.I. Joe to most casual fans is Duke. Mm-hmm. And to most fans who don't like Duke, it's Flint. And so, yeah, where does Hawk really fit into that? Like, if we're just going by the Larry Hama comic, he's a general, no question. But past that, like, he had a
on the season he's on the cartoon, he's very much in charge.
He's very much in charge, but he's like, there's no real character given to him. He's just the guy that's in charge.
Yeah.
So
he doesn't have that deep character development that Duke got.
Look, Duke at least had jokes and head trauma.
Well, that's true.
I mean, Hawk just stood there and shouted things at people.
That's true.
In a fatherly way. And he was there for the movie. He was there in other incarnations, but he never did anything in those. So if he's a general, he's a weak general. I tend to think he's more in line with the guys we've put at the major level in terms of impact of the character. I don't think he's a bigger deal than, like, if you talk to most fans, he's not a bigger deal than Shipwreck. He's not a bigger deal than Gung Ho. I got him. He's a major to me.
It's okay. I can agree with you and be wrong. If you want to say General Hawk is a major, then again, Major Storm is a corporal at best.
Right. We had
Yeah.
we had Colonel Hawk as a corporal. So
yeah, Major Barrage
like
is a private, pretty sure. So
where was it? It's here, Viper Scout kind of sums up my thoughts very succinctly. Hawk is a major, iconic but not indispensable. And you can do G.I. Joe 100 ways and not have Hawk involved with it, because you got Duke and you got Flint and you got other guys that can run the show. So
if you want to trust a sergeant and a warrant officer, I guess.
Look, it worked in the biggest growth periods for that property.
When was that? 86? When this figure came out?
No,
84 and 85.
No, 84 and 85 when the cartoon premiered.
I guess it depends how you want to define it. 86 was when it made the most money. So it may not have been the biggest growth, but it was the high watermark fiscally.
That's it. Hey, look, I'm just saying he got on the bus when it was already going full speed.
He was in 82.
No, he wasn't. This guy wasn't in 82.
That guy wasn't, no, but
he got a much cooler upgrade. So I'm going here unless somebody can talk me out of it.
I don't think anybody can talk you out of it.
Way to make me sound like a butt, Mark.
I'm just saying. General Hawk's a major, okay.
And I think
hey, all of our generals are sergeants.
That's the point.
Kurt Roca says Hawk in a spake suit.
Oh,
give me the Deke Hawk. Oh, now we got something to talk about.
Right.
So yeah, I don't see him as being a bigger deal than the guys we've had at major.
Let's take it to the fans.
That's a terrible idea.
Let me know. Just sound off.
That's a terrible idea. We had somebody trying to make the bat a general. I don't know.
Yeah, and someone wanted Honolulu.
Right. Up next is Iceberg.
Let's talk to the fans. That never works.
Joe Colton, how do you feel about Iceberg?
Cool guy, cool sculpt. I remember him from the cartoon. He was in the cartoon.
He turned into a killer whale.
Yeah.
He tried to eat wetsuit.
Eat wetsuit. I want him to be a sergeant.
Ooh.
However,
That's a lot.
Right, but I want him to be a sergeant. That doesn't mean he is a sergeant.
You're gonna have to give him a personality transplant.
Right?
Yeah.
I reluctantly and sadly, he is either a very low corporal or a very high private.
Yeah.
Yeah. If
I cannot decide which, but I can go either way.
My feeling on Iceberg is the same as they are on Dial Tone.
Yeah.
Like he showed up, he got some spotlight run in 86 there. He hasn't done a whole lot in any other incarnation, but he's got more of a cachet than the guys on the private line.
Yeah.
Being on season 2 of Sunbow might not seem like a big deal, but in regards to the casual fan, it's a big deal. So I got him as a corporal, unless anybody has some major objections.
Nah.
I just remember as a kid, it was a cool sculpt, and I liked snow troopers because I grew up around some snow. But I was so mad that he came with one gun, and the gun was ridiculous.
Yeah,
It was
super
like
large.
5 inches long. Like, what are you gonna, with no bipod or anything, right, to balance it? I just imagined him running around like most of the guys with the Final Fantasy swords at conventions, who are super excited at 9 a.m. and by noon they're carrying it with 2 hands. And by 3, they're dragging it. Like, bad idea to bring the cloud sword. So that's my only beef with Iceberg. But yeah, the basic idea of, not a lot going on, but he's better than the private row. Yeah, all right.
Right. Up next is Leatherneck. And Leatherneck's a guy who, again, another one from the class of guys who had a star turn in season 2 of Sunbow. But his star turn in season 2 of Sunbow might have been the best one. Some of the best episodes in season 2 are Leatherneck episodes. That said, we never really saw him again. He had a spotlight in the Hama comic because he got mad at Outback because he thought Outback had abandoned Stalker and Snowjob and Quick Kick and Barovia. Like he was the antagonist. He was a butthole. And that's about all he had for the comic book.
But then again, his file card says he's a Marine drill sergeant, so that and butthole.
Yeah,
right.
Him being a hard ass kind of seemed in character.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, again, it wasn't out of character, but it certainly he's a great corporal, but he's a corporal. Anybody?
I'm not gonna fight. Not gonna fight to make him sergeant. But I think he's better than the other 2 corporals.
Yeah, I lean towards him just being a little bit more of a sergeant, just because you're right. There's a lot of the better episodes in season 2 are centered around Leatherneck.
Yeah, and he did have that buddy relationship with Wetsuit. So yeah, you know what? I'll give it to him there.
But he's a low sergeant. He's not as good as the other 2 sergeants.
Yeah, probably not.
Just saying.
But yeah, the Rotten Egg is one of the best episodes. I agree. That's one of the ones that I had in mind there. That one and Let's Play Soldier, great episode.
Yeah,
both of them Leatherneck episodes. Up next is Lifeline. If we're going to talk about the Sunbow cartoon, easily the most annoying character.
Oh, without a doubt, 100%.
Yeah.
But as such, a pretty well developed character for a cartoon guy. Did get some run in the comics, even if he was just the dude who showed up and gave the sit rep of, yeah, Grand Slam got shot up pretty good, Hawk.
Again.
Right. Again.
Grand Slam stumbled in the path of some bullets again.
But
he should stop wearing bright orange center mask.
Right.
Says the guy wearing red.
Lifeline is a guy who people remember. I think he's a sergeant. Joe Colton, I know you hate him, but
I thought he was very annoying.
He was,
but people remember him, and he is popular with the pacifists.
Rack time, Rob.
I like the figure. I hate him.
He was a little bit better in the comic, where that pacifist vibe was a little bit more chilled out.
Yeah.
But, Mark, what do you think?
Oh, I'm in a tub full of piranha, but I won't touch that gun to pull me. You're going to pull me out with. You idiot! I hit him with the gun and let him drown.
It's a Monty Python episode. I need out of the army, General. I don't like the fighting. Are you a pacifist, Collins? No, sir. I'm a coward. I joined for the travel and the water skiing.
The water
Yeah, you can make him a sergeant. That's fine. He's better than the corporals, but not much.
What wasn't that the Python episode with the 124th Interior Design Brigade?
Something like that. And it might have been the start of the general who stopped sketches when they got too silly. No, it's got too silly.
Right.
It started as a nice bit about post boxes attacking young men, but now totally off the rails.
So up next is Lifeline's running buddy, Lift Ticket, who was a nice counterpoint to Lifeline. They got paired up a lot in the Tomahawk in Sunbow. But there again, didn't get a lot of run anywhere else, and isn't really particularly memorable past that. I've got Lift Ticket as a corporal.
I think that's high.
Oh, Lift Ticket even got some spotlight run in Sunbow, so I'll give him that. I don't think he's any worse than Iceberg or Dial Tone. He's
better than the privates. That's fine.
Yeah.
Although I think Mike might be trying to curry favor, so Lift Ticket will sell him a microphone at half price. But
I still have my Lift Ticket microphone from 1986.
I think I do too, but I don't want to try to verify that because I know I'll be wrong. I
Up
never liked the head on
No,
the
it's-
ticket.
That's a
Matt.
goofy head.
Yeah,
He was a guy that they definitely did better in 25th anniversary. That was a good
Yeah.
figure
yeah, it was a good pick.
because he still had that goofy grin on his face, but that helmet came off and his head was human size.
Yeah,
He wasn't like Nick Adams' little brother running around.
yeah, he looks like he was once a man.
That face looked like they had to scrape him out of the mold and it got.
Right, and they just went whatever. Kids are buying the helicopter, not the figure.
Exactly, which is why I would have put him as a private.
Up next is Lowlight.
Oh, get ready! Look at that.
So Joe Colton is ready and willing to go here.
Like a dog that heard the whistle.
Yeah. What is that? The can opener running?
Ain't been a whole lot of low light around the G.I. Joe.
Now back to what's on your mind?
Whoa.
Did you hit a wrong button?
No, that was on purpose. So Joe Colton, give us
Yes.
your favorite male Joe. Go ahead and give us.
He's a sniper. He's amazing. He has great sculpt. He was Moody before Moody was in the cartoon. He's fantastic.
I liked Lowlight on the cartoon because he was kind of a jerk. One,
Yeah.
but they also crafted a character around that gave him a good reason to be one.
Yeah.
Lowlight got 2 Spotlight episodes, and both of them played into his past. We got a pretty fully rounded character for a guy who wasn't in the spotlight a whole lot.
Oh yeah. And he's memorable.
Yeah, and he is also very popular with the fans.
Yeah.
And I think that pulls him up a little bit past that corporal line and maybe into the low part of the sergeant line.
Oh, okay. I was thinking high sergeant, but okay, we can
Because we haven't seen him again since.
listen
So
to me. It doesn't
look.
matter. That 25th anniversary figure is Chef's Kiss, sir.
Yeah.
Chef's
It's
kiss.
Pursuit of Cobra.
it is
Or
wonderful.
Pursuit- Yeah.
It is
But
wonderful. You'll get no
even-
argument from me there.
Even among Pursuit of Cobra, like
Yeah.
that's a top 10 figure all time.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
that
agreed.
good. Yeah.
It's got the pre-lost bullet and everything.
Yep.
But I got it. Just again, we just haven't seen a whole lot of him story wise. Like there's not a lot of. He's a cool character.
I don't care.
There's not a ton of impact for him.
Doesn't matter.
But
He's
I think he's a sergeant.
Okay.
Were you
He's
not
got a-
paying attention to the beginning of that where I said he was a sergeant?
No.
And you're trying to disagree and say he's a sergeant.
Well, I'd like him to be a major, but you won't give him that. So
He's
Nah,
not a
he's not enough. There's not enough of him.
it's
to be
fine.
major.
It's fine.
He's got a dark as hell file card,
Yeah.
right? Like
That
pretty
original
much-
style card, yeah.
Look, man,
Yeah.
go watch whatever that Nightmare episode in season 2 is.
Yeah.
He's having the flashbacks with his dad yelling at him. Holy crap, that's some dark stuff.
But he's great.
No, he is great. He is great. Yeah, I wish they would use him more. But as it is, I feel like we're stretching a little bit to get him on the sergeant line. And
I don't think we're stretching.
I wish we didn't have to stretch.
I don't think we're stretching on the sergeant line.
Up next is Mainframe.
Yeah.
Ragtime Rob talked to us about Mainframe.
Now we might be stretching to get someone on the sergeant line.
Mm.
don't
I
know.
like Mainframe. He's got some good play in the cartoon. He's got he's got that really nice spotlight issue where he gets introduced in the comic, issue 58. But that's about it.
Mainframe has been a popular guy in recent years as far as use in the comic books. I would say Mainframe has a lot of staying power.
Yeah. I mean, the nature of his job, I think, he's a novelty. He's a little bit of a nice guy to have in 1986, but he's an absolute necessity today.
Right.
Computer guy
I can stretch him to sergeant.
Computer guy landed Zorana and Scarlet. I mean, dude, that's what I'm talking about.
Fair enough. I mean, I got him on the sergeant line.
He's
I don't
better
think
than the corporals.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no
but
question.
he's not as good as any of the. Well, he's as good as Lifeline. I'll give him a tie with Lifeline on the bottom rung of the sergeant ladder.
I think
But
he's
not because of annoying factor.
I think Mainframe's got maybe everybody on the sergeant line. He might have more going on for him than anybody, but I think he's a sergeant.
I'm cool with that.
All right. Joe Self says, these rankings hurt my soul, but I have to remind myself that this is definitive. No ifs, ands, or buts.
That's right.
That is correct. Good job, Joe Self. That's a very mature take.
Yep. Major Hawk would be proud of you.
He would. Is that a promotion from Colonel Hawk?
I guess. No, it wouldn't be.
Up next is the 4-pack of Mardi Gras Mission Brazil figures. And I'm gonna go ahead and drop them right here next to Cross Country.
Yeah. Even though I got to give respect to Mainframe for his Mark Webber cosplay.
His big red head. Yeah.
Yeah, right. I'm not feeling it.
Yeah, the only one of those 4 figures worth the time is the tan leatherneck.
Yeah.
And the Mission Brazil was just kind of a one-shot thing that they only sold at Toys R Us. It got a nice nod in a convention pack later on, and there you go. There, that's it.
I had no idea that existed because, again, no Toys R Us in Bend, Oregon. So when eBay was first coming around, late 90s, and I'm like, I got a little bit of money because I'm out of college and no kids, sucking my wallet dry yet. And I was looking back at all these shows I never knew existed, Night Force and all this cool stuff. And I saw that, and I'm like, yeah, I need Claymore. That's it. I'm good. Never needed the other 4. Like, no.
Yeah. I mean, in Bend, Oregon, did they have electricity in 1987?
Oh, no, that's cold.
Just like in Bend, Oregon, from the lack of heat.
Right? Telling you. That's where Night Fox is from, Bend, Oregon.
That's right.
Yeah. Show some respect.
Up next is Monkey Wrench. And Joe Colton, you got a Dreadnought thing going on. What's up? What's up with Monkey Wrench?
No, you just cut out for a minute, and I was like, what is he saying?
I just thought you weren't paying attention.
No.
Monkey Wrench. Where you got Monkey Wrench?
Didn't we have, like, the rest of the Dreadnoughts, like, corporals?
I think sergeants and corporals, and I don't know if Monkey Wrench is a whole lot different than them.
Yeah.
I don't know if Monkey Wrench is even that high.
He's better than those privates. Look at the privates.
Pete
Those
Benson.
privates are all on WCW Thunder, right? Like,
Right.
they're straight to YouTube. So don't diss Monkey Wrench like that. It's not his fault. Not his fault they gave him a fork for a rifle.
It's a harpoon gun.
Maybe
with
it is.
with one shot, apparently. Don't miss.
Right. But his thing was explosives. I kind of dug that. But I got him as a corporal. He was just kind of filling space.
He's better than every Dreadnought that came after.
No.
Like
Not Road Pig.
No, Road Pig.
Nah.
Road Pig was better.
I'll take Monkey Wrench over Road Pig 8 days a week.
No.
I'll take Road Pig over just about any of them.
No, Weber. No.
Motor Viper is next.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go ahead and we'll get to Road Pig when we do 1980 whatever.
If not for the articulation, you'd think he was one of the adventure people. He doesn't even have a Cobra symbol on him.
Right. I got him on the private line, and that's okay. I think the most prominent thing that the Motor Viper did was a whole lot of them got their asses handed to them in the first episode of Arise, Serpentor Arise. Up next is Roadblock. And I think this version of Roadblock is equally as iconic as the one that came before, and that guy was a general. So let's go ahead and just get our first general of the day. Anybody have an argument with that?
Nope.
Nothing? Joe Colton is tuned out.
Roadblock.
It's Roadblock, exactly.
Look at Action Figure Expert going nuts in the comments down low.
Okay, there it is.
Naugahyde.
Yeah. I mean, Naugahyde's I kind of like him. I'm not going to lie.
I do like Nagai, but he's no Monkey Wrench. Come on now.
He does have a bore.
Yeah. He
Okay.
kind of is a bore, I'll be honest with you.
He did have a good run on Deke, though.
Nobody had a good run on
Exactly
Deke.
right. I mean,
Yeah.
Maurice LaMarche got a job out of it. That's the best thing we can say about the Deke cartoon.
It's like being the most popular guy in prison.
But up next is Mail Away Sarge. And here's why I got Mail Away Sarge up high. It's because Mail Away Sarge, that's him and his wrestling togs from the AWA and the NWA in the late 80s. Like, that's the uniform he wore. That was an honest-to-God, real-life G.I. Joe representation. So I think that counts for something different. Mark Weber, you're the wrestling guy. What do you think?
He's such a big deal. And even though he was never one of my favorite wrestlers. And I got tired of him on the show pretty fast.
Right.
But he was a big deal because he was a legit celebrity, a current celebrity involved with the Joe brand at a very, very high level. And even though I liked the Triple T figure better, the fact that this was first, especially with the long lead up of, get your Sergeant Slaughter, collect flag points, send it in, whatever, like, he's about as big as it gets. Even though I wasn't a massive fan of the figure, because obviously I stole his waist piece to replace Thunder's broken waist piece, because you couldn't just go buy another Thunder. So I didn't have any problem ripping him apart. Of course, I think I had the Triple T guy, so I just like that one better. But it doesn't get much more important long term even. Look now, right? The balloon's not off that rose one bit.
How big a deal was it 35 years later when they announced that Sergeant Slaughter was going to have another G.I. Joe made of him?
Yeah.
And this was right on the heels of another company doing Sergeant Slaughter.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think Real World Sarge is a general.
Yeah.
I think Triple T Sarge is a general.
Yeah.
I think Triple T Sarge is a general. Yeah, definitely, because that's the one everybody knows,
I think the only time we'll get away from it is maybe down the road when we get to Warthog.
Yeah, like Warthog Sarge, he's whatever. He's just
not quite the same.
Well, no. Marauders.
Yeah, I guess so. That too.
Yeah.
So
Warthog Sarge is weird because his hat comes off, and I'm like, I don't think real Sarge's hat comes off.
No. I mean, I've met Sergeant Slaughter, and I don't think his hat comes off.
I know it's not true, but my memory is that he wrestled in the hat.
Oh, when he checked into the hotel,
he had the hat on. Yeah.
Okay. 86 is a big year, so we're not going to do it now, but we'll do the long-term tease. I have a fantastic Sarge story, and I'll tell it when we do Warthog Sarge.
Well, you've told us about that with the thumb in your
we got whole new fans, thousands of new fans. Now.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. But yeah, General Sergeant Slaughter, times 2.
General Hawk is a major. Sergeant Slaughter is a general. Moving on.
Look, tell me Hawk's as big a deal as Sergeant Slaughter, and we'll get back in there.
Yeah, I get it.
Right.
Moving on.
Up next is Sci-Fi. And Sci-Fi I've got on the same level as Dial Tone and Iceberg and all those guys that just didn't quite get as much run as the other ones in 1986 on the cartoon and never did a whole lot besides.
What was little Mike Irizarry's reaction to a new laser rifle trooper coming out?
I liked him okay, but it didn't stop me from playing with Flash.
He wasn't as cool as Flash.
No, he wasn't. No.
And it's the easiest lazy bastard custom, right? People take the boots off of Cobra Black Star, right? And switch them on to Sci-Fi. He looks so much better with black boots.
Right.
So much better.
I think anything would be better than those silver jobs they gave him.
Yeah. Well, and then Sci-Fi's legs, if you have a spare pair, can go on the Cobra Black Star.
And they work better there too.
For his banana pants. And it's like the king of lazy bastard customs. Right? Anybody can do that. Anybody can do that.
So
the Cobra Black Star waist up, or actually not waist up, belly button up, is a fantastic figure.
And
Fix the
Just so
bell.
everybody knows, I want to take a quick time out here. Joe Colton had to use the restroom, so
Fair
I
enough.
just wanted to make sure that she would be embarrassed by that when she watches this on replay.
Let's talk about her. She better wash her hands this time.
Boo! Boo! So I say sci-fi is probably a corporal just by the slimmest of margins.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Like he's just was out there enough on enough promotional stuff. He got just enough viewing time on the cartoon. He's better than the guys in the private line, and that's about it.
He's Neon RoboCop. Like, all right. That's
Viper
fine.
Scout's like, Colton watches the replay. No, she doesn't.
No.
She barely watches the live show when we're doing it.
She didn't watch it live, I'll be honest.
So we'll get him on there next to his good friend Monkey Wrench.
Yeah, so you can sit down there.
Up next is Serpentor.
Hey, we're getting sci-fi in the classified line. I heard that somewhere.
Be nice. Joe
Why?
Colton, was that a satisfactory pee break?
Yes.
Did you
see
wash your hands? Did you wash your
Why?
hands this time?
Yes.
Did you see her eyes get huge there? She is so
Why are
embarrassed
you
right now.
telling everyone?
Dude, we are live streaming.
I hate you all.
So were you, apparently. Woo!
Oh goodness! Come on now.
The best
I just
dad
want to
joke
point out
ever.
I was being nice.
Yeah, Ragtime Rob's the good guy here.
Yep. He's the only one.
Occam Grazer says Serpentor is a general, or this is a sham. Well, we may be a sham. Mark Weber, talk to me about Serpentor.
I mean, I think Serpentor in the green lousy cape is probably a major, but with Mindbender's cape on him.
He's a 5-star super general.
Dude, right? Like,
He
yeah.
truly is an emperor.
The only bit that will work against him, because I think he's fantastic. It was one of my favorite storylines ever in the comic, on the cartoon. I thought it was fantastic. And especially in the comic, where he's like dragging wounded soldiers back behind the line, and the other soldiers are like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah,
He's like,
this
"We'll
is-
leave our brothers behind." And they're like, "We do it all the time, man."
Are
We're
you
the bad guys.
are you
Oh,
new?
Yeah, I know you're the boss, but you are new here.
Life is cheap.
But yeah, the one thing, like the defining bit for me for General is can't imagine the brand without him. And there have been iterations of Joe, and good iterations of Joe without Serpentor.
Right.
So he's not irreplaceable, but he's super damn valuable. So you're looking at super high major or very low general. I could be
Look,
swayed either way.
It's one of the few stories that played off well in both the animation and the comic book, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you're absolutely right. And like enough things have happened without Serpentor, and everything's okay.
Yeah.
But I can't put him on the general line either.
Yeah, I'm not going to fight major on Serpentor, but he's a very, very high major.
Joe
Yeah.
Colton, what do you think?
I would put him as a major.
Okay, all right.
This
I'm Rob. How
two
about you?
commands.
I think it's there. I mean, the idea of Serpentor is great. Someone who has the ability to usurp Cobra Commander, take that organization out from under him. But you have a time limit on that.
Right.
Really, because you ask the person on the street who's in charge of Cobra Commander.
Right. Exactly.
It makes for a good storyline. It makes for a good change. It makes for a good breath of fresh air that you need, when you're doing this. But in terms of a permanent thing, you don't want that. So you're always kind of like rooting against Serpentor at the same time.
Yeah, he did. He made Cobra Commander a sympathetic character, which is
It's a very good storyline that makes him valuable. It makes him a valuable character because, like, is this guy going to pop his ugly head back up again? What kind of trouble will this cause? But he's not 100% essential.
right. And I'm with him there. Like, he's very much Hawk's opposite number.
Mhm.
He's the guy in charge.
Destro could usurp Cobra too.
Right. He's the guy in charge until he's not.
Yeah.
Right. So there we go. Serpentor is on the major line. I thought we were going to have a bigger fight about him.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, he's cool. It's a cool idea, but like I said, Destro could make a power play and try and grab Cobra. The Twins, you could see trying to make a power play, or the Baroness. So, I mean, there's other people who could try and make that play, to take control of Cobra too. So,
You could totally see the Twins killing Cobra Commander in the opening 5 minutes of a major theatrical film.
well, thankfully, no. But you could see them trying.
Oh, definitely.
So moving forward, we've got Slipstream.
Ooh.
And
Private.
Really?
Private.
Yeah, I tend to agree. He got one episode in the cartoon, but outside of that, he was always getting like in every other media, he was always second string to Ace.
Captain Brown knows, right? Because they painted the flesh color over a brown head,
Right.
and his face rubbed on the cockpit, right, over and over again.
Technically, he's first Lieutenant Brownnose.
Which sounds dirty, but it's not. But yeah, try to find a Slipstream figure with an intact nose paint. Hard to do.
Up next would be the Stratoviper, and I'm just going to go ahead and drop the Stratoviper. There are at least some fun tidbits with the Stratoviper, like that one where his ground crew hated him, so they took out his breakout tool, and he got
drowned in the sinking Night Raven.
Right, and that was a comic story, and then there was the one on the cartoon with the female Stratoviper that had a thing for Slipstream and great private, right?
Yeah. Other than just the caveat, absolutely loved that figure.
Oh, neat figure,
Yeah, right?
Fantastic looking vehicle.
One of my probably five favorite Cobra figures ever. But yeah, he didn't have more importance than where he's at. But salute, man, loved that fig.
And he looks like a bad guy too,
He does.
Good color scheme.
Yes, the Night Raven pilot's name was Raven. That was not their greatest moment.
She later joined the Teen Titans.
Right. Up next is Thrasher. I liked Thrasher. The snobby rich kid Dreadnought. I dug Thrasher, but I don't think he's any more than a corporal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mark?
The vehicle's better than the character or the figure.
Also true.
So yeah, he's private material. He's no monkey wrench.
But at least he's a vehicle driver with a little bit more personality than just he's the guy who drives this thing.
Yeah, I did like that they made him, rich punk, basically.
Yeah.
So that's cool, but monkey wrench eats his lunch all day long, I think.
Up next is the Viper. And you know what? I'm going to give the Viper an exception here because I think this is where Cobra's whole structure gets reset. I mean, not only is it perhaps the most popular army builder, but everything was a Viper after this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, from a brand standpoint, was super smart.
Right?
Right? They didn't have to come up with brand new names for 5 different troop builder Cobras every year. They were just the whatever Viper. Okay.
Like I know the Televiper came first, but this is where this was really set in stone. But again, just being a Viper, I can't go higher than Sergeant, but I think the Viper is even with the bat.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Anybody?
Yeah. Agreed.
I am with you.
I'm surprised that there was never a really good singular Viper story. Like I guess there was one, but they made that Mercer and he sucks.
Oh,
You are so anti Mercer, man.
I am.
he has to be because everybody else likes Mercer.
Yeah. But up next is Wetsuit. And I think if Leatherneck is a sergeant, then I think Wetsuit is probably a lesser sergeant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. He's more
Yeah.
important than a corporal. on
Yeah,
that list.
he's a bigger deal there. And I think it's totally because they built a character around him having, bickering.
The Navy Marine rivalry. Yeah.
Right. Bickering Ricky and Lucy fights with Leatherneck. So I got him on the sergeant line, although not quite as cool as some of these other sergeants. We got Xandar, the invisible Dreadnought, and I think that puts him on the corporal line unless anybody has an argument.
That's fine.
That's
He's
fine.
more important than the privates, but
Yeah, but
Yeah.
they're
not
like
going on.
But that's
I
about
think
it.
he had serious potential.
Yes.
But no, he never really got that star turn, right?
No.
Yeah, he's
No.
kind of goony looking.
Yeah, it's red hair, man.
Look, it's not the hair that makes him goony looking.
Is it the lightning tattoos on the chest? Because I've been considering
It's
them.
the whole Lisa Frank binder threw up on me vibe he's got going on.
I guess that's fair. I like that he has shoulder pads that don't attach to anything.
Yeah.
I was gonna say he's from the street gang that Lisa Frank's block that she grew up on. But yeah, last is Zorana, and I think Zorana is somewhere in that Sergeant Major territory.
Yep. She's very popular.
Definitely higher than her brother.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Certainly.
Well, higher than that brother, not the other one.
And that figure, though, man,
That figure
hair
was a little
just
tough, yeah.
brutal. But
Yeah.
the new classified one that's coming out,
Oh.
Yeah.
Amazing.
they're making up for it
I think
almost 40 years later. But okay,
Rack time, Rob. What do you got here?
I'm leaning Major.
I
I
can't
mean,
put
she's
Zorana.
a big deal. She's a big deal in the cartoon. She jumps
He is a huge deal in the cartoon.
ahead of all the other dreadnoughts and really a lot ahead of like a lot of the other Cobras that getting introduced. She's a big deal for a while in the comic book too.
Mhm.
True.
She's definitely got more longevity. I mean, partly because she didn't die, but I can't be putting Zorana on equal footing with Hawk and Serpentor.
True.
Like Mindbender, maybe. But,
Yeah, they're in that same league.
but not
I don't know.
Hawk.
I think Mindbender's
Like-
a little bit bigger.
Yeah, I got mine.
I can see the
on the major
dreadnoughts without.
line. Yeah, on the major line, I think Mindbender's the most important guy.
Yeah.
But you were saying, Rob, I'm sorry.
Like I said, I can see the dreadnoughts without Zorana a little easier than I can Cobra without Mindbender.
Yeah, she's sergeant for me, super sergeant, but
Super Sergeant.
Yeah, you
Super
talked me
sergeant.
into it.
top sergeant, EA.
Joe Colton, what you got?
I was fine with a high sergeant, so
All right, then. I guess that's where she's going to be.
If
I
it
was-
was classified Zorana,
she'd be a major.
move her on up. But
Well,
what
we're
about,
we're talking characters, so whatever.
is this earring Zorana or no earring Zorana?
It is just
We
Zorana.
can't tell they broke off.
Yeah, right.
Fair enough.
So there we go. That is your 1986 character tier list. It's definitive. Except no limitations, except no imitations. No ifs, ands, or buts.